In March 2020, the country was turned upside down. We were put into a lockdown to stop the spread of COVID-19. I remember watching Boris Johnson's first announcement that my GCSEs and my sister's A-levels would not be judged on the exams we were about to take, but on the work we'd already done. It was definitely a strange time for us. At first, many students like myself were happy to lay around all day and not have to worry about the stress of exams or revision or being late for class, but as the days turned to weeks and the weeks turned to months, many like myself started to feel the stress and uncertainty of the isolation and of our futures.
After doing some rough research on the subject, I found that I wasn't the only one who was feeling worried and anxious about the coronavirus. So I wanted to go deeper into how the lockdown has affected young people like me.
Research on mental health has been increasing over the past few years, as mental health has become more aware as a topic to the public. The organisation Young Minds, for example, has done multiple surveys over the course of the pandemic, with the most recent survey taking place in the January to February of 2021, the last official lockdown. It found that 75% of participants were finding that lockdown was harder than the previous one, and that 67% thought that the pandemic was going to have a negative effect on their mental health. A report by BMG stated that the second wave of COVID-19 is causing a wave of child neglect and abuse, with reports of domestic alcohol consumption up in March 2021, up by 22%, which is a threat to the safeguarding of children. While another report by the Association for Child and Adolescent Mental Health found that during the first wave of COVID-19, the ratio of people aged 55 to 19 with mental illnesses increased from 1 in 9 to 1 in 6.
From a questionnaire I personally created for this topic, I found many people didn't view the lockdown as a purely bad thing, rather a grey area. Most people felt like the lockdown negatively impacted their mental health, with it being 42.9% of responses saying no to that question. I found that the main cause for mental health decline was loneliness and isolation, and that people had found their social skills had gotten worse or hadn't gotten the chance to make new friends and develop those social skills. However, I have found that many people were staying active through lockdown, with the use of exercise and gaming to stay fit and healthy and in contact with friends. Overall, it was an unspoken agreement with all the people that answered my questionnaire that mental health in young adults is a big problem in society today. I have also spoken to some people personally about their experiences in lockdown.
What was life like for you during lockdown?
In the first lockdown, life was great. I was very productive, I had motivation. I kind of feel like the time alone gave me more time to work on myself. But as things went on and went into the second and third lockdowns, I kind of felt the complete flip opposite. I had no motivation. I felt very lonely. It was weird not being able to see people and having to do classes online. I was missing out on creating bonds and friendships with people I hadn't met before.
Going into lockdown, it was like a huge weight lifted off my shoulders because, initially I was in year 11 studying for our GCSEs, and, life was, for me at that point, was becoming the most hectic it's ever been at that, in my entire life. And then lockdown hits and everything just ceases. It's like, I've got nothing to do anymore. I don't need to revise for my exams. To be fair, to put it simply, I had zero responsibilities whatsoever.
It didn't really change me that much because I don't go out that much, and we were on holiday anyway because school was cancelled, so we didn't do much and we just sort of hung around for holiday, which is what I mostly do on holidays anyway. And the only annoying thing was that exams got cancelled and it felt like we just wasted 5 years of our life revising and working for these exams that then didn't happen.
It was quite boring. Lots of sleep, not much to do.
Do you feel like COVID positively, negatively, or didn't affect you? Why is that?
I think it negatively affected me after when we started college, because my motivation was completely down. I think a lot of people felt like that. My motivation was just on the floor for all of the subjects, anything we did, because I just spent the last 6 or 7 months doing nothing. So just to start doing things again just felt wrong.
It helped me positively. Because I'm someone that I'd say I've definitely bloomed a lot as I come to college, but I was quite an introvert back then, and so the need to go out and actually see people in person has never been something that I necessarily needed in order to function.
Was there anything that helped you get through lockdown?
I like sleeping, so I slept quite a bit.
I feel like it was definitely trying to keep in contact with friends, because it's so hard to maintain friendships purely online. But I found that making time for each other and speaking to people was definitely something that helped, because there were times I felt so isolated. It was nice just to have a reminder that my friends were still there, we're all in the same position.
Do you remember a hardest moment to get through in lockdown?
I definitely think I wouldn't say there's one specific moment, it's just generally not being able to see people, not being able to see my friends.
Not really that I can think of off the top of my head. It all kind of felt the same. That was mostly the most point of it. It just felt like this long, continuous thing. So the whole thing was the worst part of it.
Do you have a favourite moment from lockdown?
Not so much a favourite specific moment, just more the fact that I'd say that my favourite period of the lockdown was towards the start, because I had all this, freedom and literally just no stress at all in the world, absolutely carefree.
Not exactly. Maybe like being online with my friends and seeing them, or not seeing them, but talking to them every day.
Do you think lockdown has changed you as a person? Is that change good or bad?
I think it has changed me as a person, motivational wise, like I said. I lack motivation in lots of things now, which is hopefully getting better. I think it is getting better. But yeah, it just changed my motivation, which I think did with lots of people.
I have definitely changed as a person as a result. And I feel as though it's partly because I've learned how to cope differently, but not always in positive ways. And I've learned so many different things, but not to the extent I could have, academically. I lack motivation. I find it harder to get myself out of lows whenever I come upon one. But yeah.
COVID-19 won't be going away anytime soon. We're going to have to learn how to live with it instead of fighting its spread with more lockdowns, and rather with more vaccines and boosters. Whatever happened last year has happened, nothing can change that. And from the people I've spoken to and learnt from, and personally for me, through the ups and downs, it has become an important part of my life. And I'm glad that I've lived through it.